August 17th, 1945, a date that would forever change the course of history for Indonesia. It was a day that marked the end of an era of colonial rule and the beginning of a new chapter of independence and self-determination. A date etched in the heart of every Indonesian, a day of defiance, a day of destiny. On this day, the Indonesian people stood united, their spirits unbroken, their resolve unshaken. They marched forward with a singular purpose, to reclaim their homeland and their identity. On this day, a nation rose from the ashes of oppression, proclaiming its birthright to the world. Merdeka, freedom, the cry of Merdeka echoed through the streets, a powerful declaration of independence that resonated in the hearts of millions. It was a moment of triumph, a moment of liberation, a moment that would be remembered for generations to come. This is the story of that fight, the heroic struggle for Indonesian independence. It is a story of courage, sacrifice, and unwavering determination. The freedom fighters, with their indomitable spirit, faced insurmountable odds, yet they pressed on, driven by a deep love for their country and a burning desire for freedom. The air crackled with anticipation. The people gathered, their hearts pounding with a mix of hope and fear. They knew that the road to independence would be fraught with challenges, but they were ready to face them head-on. The tension was palpable, the excitement electric. Years of simmering anger and frustration were about to boil over. The people had endured years of hardship and oppression, but their spirit remained unbroken. They had reached a tipping point and there was no turning back. The protests and demonstrations were a testament to their resilience and their unwavering demand for freedom. The Indonesian people, with unwavering resolve in their eyes, were ready to reclaim their nation. Their faces reflected a steely determination, a fierce resolve to fight for their rights and their future. They were united in their cause, ready to make the ultimate sacrifice for the freedom of their homeland. This was their moment, their time to rise and take their place in the annals of history. For over 350 years, the Indonesian archipelago languished under the suffocating grip of Dutch colonialism. The islands, rich in natural beauty and resources, became a battleground for control and exploitation. The Dutch, with their superior naval power and strategic cunning, established a firm foothold, turning the archipelago into a lucrative colony. The local population, diverse and vibrant, found themselves subjugated to foreign rule, their lives forever altered by the relentless pursuit of profit. The Dutch East India Company, driven by avarice, bled the islands dry. This powerful trading corporation, with its vast fleets and armies, imposed harsh taxes and monopolies, ensuring that the wealth of the islands flowed steadily into Dutch coffers. The company's officials, often ruthless and corrupt, exploited the local population, forcing them into labor and seizing their lands. The once thriving local economies were dismantled, replaced by a system designed to benefit the colonizers at the expense of the indigenous people. Spices, rubber, oil. Indonesia's riches lined the pockets of their oppressors while its people toiled in poverty. The fertile lands of Indonesia, capable of producing an abundance of crops, were transformed into plantations for cash crops like spices, coffee, and rubber. The local farmers, stripped of their autonomy, were forced to work under grueling conditions, their labor enriching the Dutch while they struggled to survive. The extraction of oil and other natural resources further depleted the land, leaving scars that would take generations to heal. Generations were born into servitude, their culture, their language, their very identities suppressed. The Dutch colonial administration imposed strict controls on education and cultural expression, seeking to erase the rich heritage of the Indonesian people. Traditional practices and languages were discouraged, replaced by Dutch customs and the Dutch language. Families were torn apart, communities disrupted, as the colonizers sought to reshape the society in their own image. The psychological impact of this cultural suppression was profound, leaving deep wounds that would take years to heal. Yet, even in the darkest hours, the spirit of the Indonesian people refused to be extinguished. Resistance movements began to form, fueled by a desire for freedom and self-determination. Brave men and women, often at great personal risk, organized and fought back against their oppressors. These resistance fighters, though often outnumbered and outgunned, displayed remarkable courage and resilience. Their efforts laid the groundwork for a national awakening, inspiring future generations to continue the struggle for independence. Hope, like a flickering flame, refused to die. Despite the overwhelming odds, the Indonesian people held on to their dreams of freedom. Small acts of defiance, whispered words of resistance, and the unyielding belief in a better future kept the flame of hope alive. This enduring spirit, passed down through generations, eventually culminated in the successful fight for independence. The story of Indonesia's struggle against colonialism is a testament to the power of hope and the unbreakable will of a people determined to reclaim their destiny. The 20th century dawned, bringing with it a new era of possibilities and challenges. As the first light of the century touched the earth, it illuminated the hopes and dreams of countless individuals yearning for change. The winds of change began to blow, rustling the leaves of tradition and crashing against the shores of the old world order. These winds carried with them whispers of freedom and the promise of a new beginning. Across the globe, nations were rising up, their voices growing louder and more insistent. From the bustling streets of Europe to the quiet villages of Asia, people were demanding their right to self-determination and justice. They were casting off the shackles of colonialism, breaking free from the chains that had bound them for centuries. The old colonial flags were being taken down, replaced by symbols of newfound independence and hope. In Indonesia, whispers of rebellion began to grow louder, echoing through the halls of universities and the streets of cities. These whispers were the voices of a people who had long been silenced, now finding the courage to speak out. Fueled by a yearning for self-determination, intellectuals and ordinary citizens alike began to engage in heated debates and passionate discussions. They listened intently to speeches that spoke of freedom and the possibility of a brighter future. Students, intellectuals, and ordinary citizens began to organize, forming groups and alliances. They huddled together in secret, sharing ideas and strategies, writing and reading manifestos that called for unity and resistance. They formed underground movements, spreading the message of unity and resistance through secretive meetings and the distribution of pamphlets. These pamphlets, handed out in crowded streets, carried the words that would ignite a revolution. The Dutch, threatened by this burgeoning nationalism, responded with brutality. They patrolled the streets, their presence a constant reminder of the oppressive regime that sought to maintain control. Attempting to crush the growing dissent, the Dutch authorities arrested protesters and clashed violently with those who dared to challenge their rule. But the spirit of rebellion could not be easily extinguished, and the struggle for freedom continued to gain momentum. From this crucible of oppression, a leader emerged, a charismatic orator who would come to embody the Indonesian struggle, Sukarno. With a voice that could stir the hearts of millions, Sukarno ignited the flames of revolution. He spoke of a free Indonesia, a nation united in its diversity where the Indonesian people could determine their own destiny. His words resonated throughout the archipelago, inspiring millions to rise up and fight for their birthright. Section 5, a declaration heard around the world. As World War II raged, Japan occupied Indonesia, promising a swift end to Dutch rule. But when Japan surrendered in 1945, a window of opportunity opened. Sukarno seized the moment. On August 17, 1945, standing tall and defiant, Sukarno read the proclamation of Indonesian independence. It was a declaration heard around the world, a resounding rejection of colonialism, and a promise of a brighter future. Section 6. The Fires of Revolution. The Dutch, however, were not about to relinquish their prized colony so easily. They returned with a vengeance, determined to crush the fledgling Indonesian Republic. The Indonesian national revolution had begun. Outgunned and outmanned, the Indonesian people waged a fierce guerrilla war. From the jungles of Sumatra to the streets of Surabaya, they fought with unwavering courage, defending their hard-won freedom. Section 7. Scars of Battle, Seeds of Unity. The revolution was a brutal and relentless affair. Villages were razed, families torn apart. The Indonesian people endured unimaginable suffering. Yet, amidst the devastation, something extraordinary happened. The struggle for independence transcended ethnic, religious, and cultural divides. It forged a new national identity, uniting the diverse archipelago under the proud banner of Merdeka. Section 8. The Unbreakable Spirit. The international community, witnessing the Indonesian people's unwavering resolve, rallied to their cause. Pressure mounted on the Dutch. Finally, in 1949, they were forced to acknowledge Indonesia's independence. It was a victory hard-won, a testament to the indomitable spirit of the Indonesian people. They had stared down their oppressors and emerged victorious, proving that even the smallest nation can overcome the mightiest empire. Section 9. Indonesia's triumphant rise. The road ahead was not easy. Indonesia faced numerous challenges, rebuilding a shattered economy, establishing a stable government, and healing the wounds of the past. But the Indonesian people, emboldened by their hard-won freedom, faced these challenges head-on. Today, Indonesia stands as a beacon of democracy in Southeast Asia, a testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome adversity. Section 10. A legacy forged in freedom. The Indonesian story is a reminder that freedom is never given, it is always fought for. It is a story of courage, sacrifice, and an unyielding belief in the power of unity. The legacy of Indonesia's struggle for independence continues to inspire people around the world, reminding us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the human spirit can triumph. Merdeka!